and you people can learn like how to think and how to get organized and do this, but in the middle of a freaking bubble where like everything is going up 50x and we have to deliver something in 8 months.
Experts predict in 7 years, 10% of the world's economy will be in crypto-based assets. TOKENMETRICS uses AI to find invisible patterns in data to help you invest and trade in crypto. We give you AI and access to crypto experts at the best price.
We have a system now for how do we put together these teams. How do I hire 200? If I have to hire 200 people in 1 month, put them in an office, and then screen out, like as interns, and then screen out the 120 people that are not going to be able to perform immediately, or like an employee handbook. Like, this is how you use GitHub. This is how you do a pull request. This is how you get requests. This is the bot that checks your things compile. Here's how you use our Docker environment. And just be able to throw this thing at someone and in 4 days get them using our infrastructure, get them up to speed. We streamline that. So you go into Google and they have all this infrastructure and they have a lot of training for how do you use MapReduce, how do you use our interprocess communication system, how do you use our internal authentication systems. How do you provision a server? So that the person who's working doesn't have to like invent the wheel 50 times. They just pick up a part, they do this, and they're able to get work done really quickly because everything is there for them already. They don't have to build it from scratch. And so we're getting our operation to the point now, like we have 3 developers on CX, and we're getting it so that the core stuff is ready so that I can hire this 3 people just to do documentation. These 3 guys just to write system libraries. These guys just to do the gaming library. These guys just to do a particle effect library. These guys to do a 3D audio library. These guys to do the optimization of language. These guys to do unit tests. These guys to do a menu library for games. These guys to build a racing game. These guys to build a poker game. These guys to build multiplayer game libraries. These guys to build a simple multiplayer game, testing the multiplayer. So if I was just doing gaming right now, I could literally go and assemble, screen, and hire 60 people. You saw how they did GTA, right? Like they had GTA 5 or whatever. They hired like 20,000 people, and like this guy was doing the grass. Like you're responsible for the grass at GTA 3. This guy's responsible for the Ferraris. This guy's responsible for the BMWs. This guy's responsible for the uniforms of the people. And this guy's responsible for the buildings. This guy's responsible for the maps. This guy's responsible for the dialogue. This guy's responsible for hiring the voice actors. This guy's responsible for script writing. This guy's responsible for the logo, design. And this guy's responsible for marketing. This guy's responsible for PR. This guy's running the tweet. And they had 15,000 people, and each one was like, this guy does the car decals. This guy does and it's just crazy. And that's how it's like a Hollywood method of production. And we're not like actually like that. Pretty much for most of the things we do, but when we have to go into a bubble and we have to deliver a lot of stuff in this tiny amount of time, we actually did develop a management system for doing that. And so I think last time my hair was literally turning gray, and it's better now. It's not as gray, and my hair was falling out. I was balding, my hair was turning gray and falling out from the stress in the last bubble, and I got like a jaw infection, and I felt like I was dying by the end of the bubble. There was a picture of me like rolled in, like it was like Japan, and I was sitting there like hunched into a little ball, like on the next to a building, and someone took a photo of me and they like posted this, and it's just I'm like collapsing because I didn't get any sleep for a year. I'm living in the airport for a year, and I'm not eating good for a year, and I'm like and my hair's falling out. My hair's turning gray. I feel like, and that was just crazy. So this time I want to have some structure, and I want to have some younger people who are suffering instead of me. So I'll just sit there and be like, yeah, you got to go do that. Yeah, you got to go hire 160 people next week. Yeah. Good luck. And I outsource. Share the suffering. Don't make me do everything this time.
Yes. I got it. Okay. Well, look, what's happening with Skycoin? What's coming up next? What are you guys working on?
We have the CXO 2.0, which is it's basically a mutable object system. It's like BitTorrent, but you can update it, update the files, update the data. and it's used for our consensus algorithm. And we had a guy put videos in it. He's actually streaming videos off this thing, which is crazy. And we released dMessage 2.0, which is our inter-process communication protocol, which is really important for like consensus and and our Skywire. And we're launching the Skywire mainnet. And this thing is crazy because we've been developing Skywire almost like it's been in development a long time. It actually started in the 1980s. It was a technology before Skycoin. It's actually pretty funny. There was a company, some guy was was an academic, and he was designing a networking protocol. And then there was like a military contract because they realized the internet wasn't actually going to survive if they had a nuclear war. And that the enemy, like if the enemy had one router plugged into the network, like they hacked one military base, they could inject entries into the BGP table, Border Gateway Protocol, and take down the military's whole internet, so they wouldn't be able to launch the missiles. So if one person in one military base started screwing with the routing tables, then their whole internal network collapses, and they couldn't even launch their missiles or use their VoIP phones and stuff. So in the 1980s, they built the internet for nuclear war. Then by the 1980s, it was all this so bloated that it wouldn't actually work in a real nuclear war, and there was no authentication of the whatever. So this guy got a contract for this thing, and then the contract got canceled because some other company, he only wanted like $1 million, and then some other company came in and bid $700 million, and so they turned like a $1 million contract into a $700 million contract. He lost the contract, and then the networking technology ended up going to like some other. He went in the private sector, and somehow I think it ended up at like this company, I think it was called NetLogic, that was doing mesh networking for Wi-Fi routers. And then NetLogic was acquired by AMD. Then AMD was bought out by Oman or the Saudis. And then after the Saudis or Oman, if it's some Arab country bought out AMD, which is really weird, then they shut down the NetLogic, and this just keeps going on. So we're developing this networking protocol, and it's really old. Like I think it started, like the basic idea of it was started in the 80s. And to get it in, and then when I started developing it, I was given like the research papers and the stuff, and then it took us like, I think it's been 8 years now, and we're on like the 12th iteration. And we launched our testnet last year, and it was working, and then it took a year to like solve all the bugs so we could get over 10,000 nodes. And now in the new one, we can go up to 100 million, 100 billion, nodes, no problem. So I find, to get it up to internet scale, and things like that. And then anyway, so it's just been a ridiculous, journey from the beginning to where we are now. And this algorithm was actually originally designed for like microsatellite swarms. They have like Star Wars, the SDI, the Star Wars Defense Initiative. So they had all these satellites, and they thought that Russia was going to shoot down their satellites with lasers and detonate nuclear weapons in space that were going to like disrupt their radio signals. So they wanted a network protocol that like reroutes data on the millisecond. So this satellite goes out for 2 minutes before it resets and whatever. And then this would know that they couldn't use that satellite, and it would route around the data. So they were like talking about launching all these like lasers and radars in space and things like that. And this was remember Reagan? I wasn't even born when this was happening. But so they developed these networking protocols to like route around data, and what's called delay tolerant networking. So like NASA's researching, started researching this a lot recently, but it's really, really, really old. It's actually like 40-year-old technology. And so anyway, there were some things like the internet, like this is a stateful routing protocol, and the internet and everything we have now is stateless routing, which is what got us to where we are now. But the future network is going to be stateful. It's not going to be stateless. So all this crap we have, like IP version 6, BGPs, just throw it in the trash. It's useless. So the technology, it goes in a full circle. So we started with stateful routing, which was called ATM, and it was asynchronous transmission mode. It was used for phone calls. Then they decided it was too expensive and too annoying. And then we went to stateless routing, which was pioneered by Cisco, and they made billions of dollars on it, and it became IV version 4. And then that's been running the whole internet maybe for 40 years now. And then that hit the limit. And now we're going back to stateful routing, which is exactly where we were in the 1980s.
Wow.
And so it's just like, so the technology, it really, we're not moving. We're just going back. So a lot of the things they say, oh, the iPad, that's amazing. It's a revolution. Steve Jobs is a genius. But you go to like Xerox Park and you realize like they built this thing like either 40 years ago, or you see some power thing and it's like, oh yeah, and you find out it's 100 years old. So anyway, so that's just how so we built this thing, and now it's working. It scales, and we have 10,000 nodes online right now, and we want to scale that to 100,000, 100 million. We want to be able to do a whole city, a country, a continent. We want to have rural broadband projects where hundreds of thousands of people across on a continent are using this thing in their daily lives, and we want to have it it be reliable and redundant. And it worked, and so we finally did that. It's pretty much working, and even after we released the testnet, there were like literally 150 bugs that we discovered, and then you spend a day fixing this bug and a day fixing that bug. Like we found out if you were trying to send a movie and it was over 4 gigabytes, that it did something weird and crashed the client or something like that. And normally you're not sending 4 gigabyte videos, but then you do, and you haven't tested it for 4 gig files over 4 gigabytes, and you have a problem. And you know they had a problem because you haven't tested it for that specific condition. So as you're using software, you find all these things. And now, so CX, all the edge conditions are tested. We built a video game engine. We fixed all the major optimization issues and the things that we had to worry about. And for Skywire, we fixed all the edge cases, and I think it's over-engineered at this point. So now we're finally getting it into mass application as a VPN, and we're implementing our quality of service levels. So we have a gaming level, or like you have VoIP or robotics. You're piloting a drone, and you want millisecond latency. You want to have your packets go first. Then we have a normal application with, you're doing a surgery with a robot in Germany and you're in New Zealand, and you want to have 15 connections between you and them going over different fiber optic cables and different routes and different ISPs. And you want to even send the data 8 times if you have to. You don't care, right? For that, you just don't want any latency. So you're doing a video conference or something like that. Video call, so low latency connection, a gaming VPN, also for gamers and things like that. Then we have a medium tier, which is just normal traffic, and then a bulk tier, which is video and things that we can, use spare. It doesn't matter if I send it and it arrives 10 seconds from now. Like if you're watching a YouTube video with buffers and it's not high priority traffic. So the current internet lumps your 10 gigabyte video download with your video conferencing data, and they're both given the same priority. And there's no consistent implementation of quality of service. So I can't say this is a video call and this is a video. This traffic can wait. This traffic has to go now. I don't want to drop the packets. I don't want to slow it down. Our current internet cannot actually handle quality of service. So they have sort of ways, you can buy networking equipment from Cisco or Ubiquiti that within your internal network will know that you're doing a video conference call and will prioritize that traffic over like backup files being synced, right? But that costs thousands of dollars, and your whole organization has to be running this equipment, and configuring it is really expensive, and it only works within your organization. So this is the first time, I think, in human history that we have a networking protocol that does this. I know that it works, and it works between organizations. So that's it's a revolution in terms of the way that the internet's architected. And we also did another thing, which is just crazy. What we did that's absolutely insane is, Tor, right?
Yep.
And you go to Tor and your traffic's anonymous. The government can't spy you, but it's slow. Tor is so freaking slow. You open up a web page, it takes 20 seconds. It takes a minute. It doesn't even load sometimes. So what we did is we have the same privacy level as Tor, but we're 100,000 times faster. We're actually faster than the current internet. And in our packet structure, when you see a packet on the current internet, it tells you who the packet's going to and where it's coming from. So if your packet goes through 25 countries, every one of those governments is intercepting your traffic and looking who's he talking to, what server he's connecting to, what website. They know if you're going to a porn site because they know the IP address of the porn site server, and they know that you're communicating to this IP address to this IP address. And just knowing the source and destination tells them the web server you're accessing. It gives them what your political ideas, your content. Is he reading Breitbart? Is he reading InfoWars? Is he masturbating to Chuck porn? Is he doing interracial porn? Is he downloading child porn? Is he what is this guy doing? They just look at the IP address and say that's a child porn server. Let's blackmail him. That's and it's a politician. Okay, good. You know, that's that IP address of a politician. That IP address is from a Goldman Sachs employee. That's the work IP address of Goldman Sachs. That's the home IP address of a employee that works at Goldman Sachs. That's his wife. They just look at the IP address and the websites that you're visiting based on the IP, and they can tell just without even decrypting your traffic. They know 98% of the information just from the metadata. They know that you're running Telegram. They know you're running WhatsApp. They know you're running Viber. They know every single application on your phone that they could, if they want to hack you, they have a list of all your apps because they just look at the IP addresses of the servers that you're connecting to. So it basically got to a point that there's not, since this data is available, it's public, it's there. There's not one government on Earth that is not currently intercepting and recording all this data. All of them are doing it now. All of them. And the other thing is you cannot encrypt the packet header. When a router gets a packet, it has to know where the packet's going. So no matter how much encryption, no matter how much HTTPS, no matter what you do, there's still going to have information.
Even a VPN?
VPN, they can't see your IP address where it's from. And you're sharing the same IP address with the users. But that's also complicated because a lot of the VPNs were like in China, the Chinese government bought up a lot of VPNs. Israeli government set up a lot of VPN services to get information. U.S. government set up VPN. If I was an intelligence agency and I wanted to steal, get information, find people who wanted to hide stuff, I would run a VPN service. So, and different VPN services have different levels of compliance, right? But as soon as it gets really big, it just becomes, they'll come in and buy it up, and it becomes, a lot of the VPN services are actually, if you look at Nord, or if you look at like the parent company and you go through the corporate data, a lot of these companies are subsidiaries of other companies that are basically collecting and harvesting users' DNS data and their internet traffic data to sell it.
Right.
So I think you do have some privacy from everyone except the VPN companies. So, well, one second. So basically, like, how does Skywire solve these problems, right? And the way it does it is really interesting. In our packet format, there is no source and no destination. And another thing is they have what's called deep packet inspection. They look at who you're talking to, what port you're talking on, and how big the packet is. And it turns out that every packet for like OpenSSH, the first packet you send will be like exactly 1,376 bytes. And they just look at the packet size and say, okay, he's running OpenVPN. Okay, that's a Telegram packet. Because there's some values hard-coded in each protocol and some fields that aren't encrypted, and they just pick them out, and they're able to tell who you're communicating with, what service it is, what the protocol is, what version of the protocol you're running. So we did several things. In Skywire, there's no source. You get a packet, the router gets a packet, there's no source, and there's no destination. Each node in the network only knows the previous hop and the next hop. They don't know where the packet came from, and they don't know where it's going. They know the previous hop and the next hop. That's it. It's not like anyone sitting in the middle, they can intercept it all they want, doesn't matter. Second thing is opportunistic encryption. Every single data transmission between two nodes is encrypted, link layer encryption between those two nodes. So anyone spying on that connection cannot figure out what they're saying. And then every communication is also encrypted by default end to end. So even if you're inside the network, so in order to get the data, you have to be one of the nodes forwarding the data, or you can't read it. And even if you are one of those nodes, you still can't read it because it's encrypted end to end. Another thing we did is every packet is basically the same size. So I can't say this is a Telegram packet, and that's an HTTPS packet, and that's a DNS packet, because they're all the same. Basically they're cut into these pieces and reassembled. So, and there's some, you can twiddle this as a developer, but by default for the high security applications, every packet's the same size. So every packet is completely noise, has no unencrypted information in it, and has no source and no destination. Even if you're running half nodes on the network, it doesn't help you because it doesn't tell you anything. Mm-hmm. So this is basically, I think it solves the biggest problems in the internet. It solves the quality of service problem. It solves a lot of problems for corporations for doing multi-homing and doing an end-to-end encryption. And a lot of companies want these features, but they don't want to pay $1 million a year and get Cisco support. And I had a guy who was just running this thing. He had to pay $10,000 a year. When you go to his office, he hit a thing and you hit it, and it prints out a Wi-Fi access code for guests. And he had to pay a $10,000 a year support contract to have this little thing to print out a Wi-Fi access code for a Cisco router. Like, if you're a small business, it's like, You know,
Easy.
the way we do things, it has a lot of overhead. Unless you're like a Google, you know, even Google doesn't do that. They build their own hardware, but like Starbucks, and you know, if you're Starbucks, you can afford, you know, $20 billion a year tech budget or something. You can afford to do that. Walmart does it, but you know, but a lot of we have to bring this open source. We have to get it down to the local business, the small business. It has to be something that can be operated by some guy running a coffee shop,
Yeah.
so people can use this thing for the Wi-Fi for his customers. And that's what we did, is we got it down to that level. And we fixed the privacy issue, and we fixed the quality of service issue, and the multi-homing issue, and the end-to-end encryption issue. So for me, I think that Skywire is going to be one of the foundational protocols for. I think it's better than 5G. I think that if I was a business owner and I have a farm and I want to put up a bunch of like 4K cameras around my farm to watch, you know, my sheep when I'm on vacation from my cell phone, I think I'm not going to pay 10 cents per gigabyte to a cell phone company to stream that data from my cameras over. Yeah, 5G is fast. Yeah, it's a gigabit per second. But are you really going to pay $5 or 5 cents per gigabyte or 10 cents per gigabyte so that you can stream your 4K camera feeds watching your sheep if you're some farmer? No. He's going to buy a camera. He's going to he's going to plug in some Wi-Fi nodes. They might even need to be solar powered because he's going to be too lazy to run a cable. He doesn't want to run a cable. He just wants to put a freaking post down and nail this thing to a post and put a little solar panel on it and point his 4K camera at his sheep and then be able to watch it on his cell phone no matter where on the earth he is. He doesn't want to, you know, put a SIM card in there and have to run a wire and an Ethernet cable and pay a $10,000, you know, $100,000 a year, you know, Cisco support thing where some guy who had to go through a, you know, 20-month Cisco training and certification course is needed to run his, you know, internal VPN for his farm, you know, camera system so he watches sheep. And so these are, you know, these are the really practical issues that we're dealing with. And so I think that 4G will be fast, it'll be interesting, but it'll be relevant. And I think that what we're doing with Skywire is going to be the dominant, basically one of the dominant protocols for IoT. Like if I have a tractor or a bulldozer at a construction site in Africa and I have some cameras on that and I want to hire some guy in Mexico or the Philippines to drive the bulldozer to push dirt around, he doesn't need to be in Africa. You know, I'll put some cameras on it and I'll hire this guy over here and he'll sit in an air-conditioned office pushing dirt. I don't need to have a guy sitting there, you know, I need to have a guy there to like refill the bulldozer and fix it when it breaks, but I can have some guy in a freaking office driving the thing like it was a video game. But I can't do that because A, there's no internet. You know, they have to, you know, so that's why you have Skywire is you plug these devices in, you can upgrade your own network, you own the telecom infrastructure, you can use the coin hours to rent out public infrastructure if you need more bandwidth, and things like that. So I think when we get to these telepresence robots, we get to like some farmer controlling his tractor from inside his house, and the tractor is an IoT device, we're going to need this type of technology. This is the foundation for all industrial applications of IoT in the factory, in the farm, in the mine, and the biggest market is actually just surveillance camera data. And we had governments come to us and they had like an oil pipeline in the desert. It was 700 miles, you know, and they don't have internet. So they were paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for these internet sensors and they can't get the data from their oil pipeline sensors because they're not actually connected to a network. And this oil, and I'm like, what? Like what? And I seriously, like sometimes you go to you go to these customers and it's just like, what? And the government, like there's a government and they have this border and it's like 22,000 square kilometers. And we were looking at this contract and they wanted to basically put cameras because they have like elephants going across the border. And they don't know, like, are these Thai elephants? Are these Chinese elephants? Are these, you know, whose elephants are these? And are the elephants coming across and then going back? Are they coming across and people are eating them? Are there more elephants this year than last year? Was there a drought? So all the elephants are, you know, are there people coming across the border? And they don't, are there people crossing the border with guns? Are they smuggling drugs in? Are they, you know, are they coming through these mountain passes? And they have these huge borders. And governments actually have no way of enforcing borders. Like, there's a lot of places, like in US and Canada, I can just get like just walk across. There's no border. There's no fence between Mexico and the United States for this. Like, there's no fence between Canada.
Yeah.
There's no, even between Hong Kong and China, there's people that like put down a little bridge and they just walk across it. And it's just like, and it looks like it's a DMZ and it looks like that there's a river and a ditch. But, you know, if you know, you go over this fence and you go, you know, this little pond and you just go boop and you're in Hong Kong. and they were complaining about that, and it took them like 8 years to discover that these guys built like a little 4-foot bridge to jump across the pond. So there's this huge board. So they wanted a border surveillance system, and I started talking to them, and I'm thinking, oh, there must be some towns. They must have some electricity. And what I found out was there's no we're going to have to use solar or something because there's no electricity. So they want to put these cameras out there. They don't have electricity. They want to put these cameras out there. They don't have an internet access to upload the data. And they want to have 10,000 cameras or something. And they want to upload all the data. And they got like 100 terabytes per second of data, and their budget's like this. And so for us, that's a good contract. That's the kind of stuff we want to do. That's what we're trying to do. And it's not currently possible with the existing technology. So I think that's going to be, according to Gardner and according to the industry studies, that's going to probably be, he's like, just hook up cameras with a little solar panel, a Raspberry Pi, and camera, and then uploading the data with a point-to-point, 2.45 gigahertz microwave relay. That's probably going to be our primary market.
And when is this Skywire mainnet due to launch? Roughly?
It's running right now. We're just fixing the auto updater. Then we're going to push it out as soon as we can. And the coronavirus really shut down our office. We're trying to get a government permit so the employees can actually go back to the office.
Yeah.
And then if we get the permit, the other government agency might actually shut down the whole building. So it doesn't, even though we're allowed to use the office, the whole building shut down. So it doesn't even matter. So we're trying to figure out when, and supposedly they're going to be able to go back to work tomorrow. But, so that sort of delayed some stuff, but we're going to get basically the mainnet out at ASAP.
Very good. So, any last words you want to say before we finish up?
No, I just want to get the Skywire out because I think we worked so long on this, and it's just crazy.
It has been a long time coming, but worth waiting for. And I'm going to have the links to the Telegram group. I know there's loads of Skycoin Telegram groups. I'll have a link to the website in the main Telegram group, and invite people to join that. And also please subscribe and comment and upvote. And if you're watching on BitTube, please do place some comments. And you can register and earn some Tube coins for watching this video and other videos, and also just for going on the internet through the Tube airtime module. Comments, questions, all in the description below. And between now and when I see you next, by the way, Synth, thank you so much for doing this. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with the other projects as well. So between myself, cryptorich and crypto Synth signing out. All the best. Bye-bye.